How's everybody today? Good. Sorry, I'm a little bit extra late today, but just some other stuff came up. Okay, so I thought today we'd maybe focus a little bit more on technology. It's the last 3 or 4 days, every time I turn on the TV, all I see is the one guy, Jensen Huang from NVIDIA. He's like a superstar. But yeah, I know I've been kind of, it's been quite nice to kind of brag to my friends in other countries about all the business leaders coming to Taiwan at the same time. You know, you have the head of Intel and NVIDIA and of course AMD and all these other companies, and they all come here and look at technology or talk about technology. So it really kind of helps put Taiwan into the spotlight. And of course, probably the main reason that everybody's talking about Taiwan and technology today is AI. You know, you keep hearing AI over and over again. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to maybe do a couple articles thinking about AI and technology because it's in the news a lot these days. And of course, Taiwan is right in the center of all that. Okay, so I think this is actually from yesterday's newspaper. It says, President vows to turn Taiwan into AI island. Now, what does AI stand for? I think you all know. Yeah. So just in case you don't know that, artificial Okay. What does artificial mean? Yeah. So what kinds of things are artificial? When we go through everyday life, what do you see that's artificial? Well, hopefully not too much of the food you eat is artificial, although I know there is artificial food. So yeah, there's artificial food sometimes, artificial ingredients in your food. Perhaps it's not natural. It's something that's made out of chemicals. Of course, we can describe a person as being artificial. Now, of course, when we say someone is artificial, it doesn't mean that they're made out of, they're not real. But what does that mean if someone's acting in an artificial way or they are Yeah, well, it actually means not genuine, okay? So if someone is they're acting in a when we say they're not, because the word genuine, I think you know this word. I think we've talked about this. Genuine means what? Real, okay? If something is genuine, of course, so real, genuine would be real, and then of course artificial could also mean like false or not real or not genuine. But genuine's a good word. I mean, so these two, artificial can mean not natural, but it can also mean not genuine. So you understand there's a slight difference there. Something can be artificial, but it could be the real thing, but it could not, so we're talking about either real or not real, genuine, not genuine, artificial, man-made, or natural. Yeah, so there's these different words. So anyhow, I think you understand that. Any questions about that word? Okay, so let's read this together. Artificial. Artificial. Right, and so if someone is acting or behaving in an artificial way, it basically means they're not being genuine. It means you're not seeing the real person, or they're not showing their real feelings, or they're hiding something. Okay, so why don't we say this word too? This is a great word, genuine. Genuine. Okay, so why don't we say this? Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. Right. Okay. So anyhow, if you are buying something, let's say you're buying something at the supermarket, people will often look at the 材料, the ingredients, because they want to see if they're genuine or natural ingredients and not artificial ingredients like chemicals and things like that. But there's many things we can use to describe this. Okay, so anyhow, going back to the article, it says a president vows to turn Taiwan into AI island. Now, we've talked about this word before many times. I think vow means what? To pledge, or to what? What would be some other words? To swear. There's another word that's a little bit more general. To promise, yeah. So we could pledge, like we pledge something, we promise something, or we swear. Swear is used in a slightly different way, like I swear I will do this. But I think pledge and promise are maybe a little bit more similar to vow. Okay, so why don't we say together, pledge, pledge, promise, promise, swear, swear. Now, swear can also mean when you use 脏话 to 骂 someone, you swear at them, right? So anyhow, that's a different meaning to this. So he promises, he pledges, he vows to turn Taiwan into an AI island. So let's go on. It says, helping hand. William Lai urged industry leaders to support the government's initiatives by investing in Taiwan and helping to build an innovative AI industry. Okay, when we say helping hand, if someone says, I need a helping hand, or please give me a helping hand, what does that mean? Yeah, it means just give me some help. Okay, so this is a very common expression. If someone tells you they need your help, or just, they don't even have to say your, they just say, I need a helping hand. It just means I need someone to help me, or I need assistance, okay? Or I'm going to give you a helping hand. So that's just basically means to help somebody. Okay, so he urged them to support the government's initiative. And what's an initiative? What would be another word for initiative, more general? Well, that's, I think, initiative is more like a what? It starts with a P. Very general word. No? Plan. Just a plan, right? So if you're going to have an initiative, it means I guess another word might be an idea, but a plan, a proposal, initiative, they're all very similar. So if you want to plan, we have a new plan, we have a new initiative, we have a new proposal, we have a new project. These words are all very similar to each other. So, but initiative can also mean it's not initiative can be 主 is it 主动? 主动, yeah. So yeah, if you have initiative, if someone shows initiative, then it becomes if you say, I need you to demonstrate or show initiative, it means you need to take the first step. You need to do something, right? Teachers always love it when their students take initiative, right? Well, usually. Not always. Not always. Traditionally, yes, in a romantic relationship, he said it's traditionally the man will take the initiative. It means he takes the first step. But, in the modern world, who knows? Maybe the woman takes initiative. She takes the first step. So yeah, it's initiative means to take action, to do something. Okay? But here, of course, it means more like a plan. So why don't we say together initiative? Initiative. Okay, so the government has these plans, these ideas. So they want to support the government's plans by investing, 投资 in Taiwan and helping to build an innovative AI industry. We've talked about this word. You hear it so much. What does innovative mean? Yeah, creative. It means something you're going to create something, invent something, try something new. Okay, so why don't we say together innovative? Innovative. Yeah, it's a word that we see so often when it comes to technology. Everybody likes to use this word. In fact, sometimes innovate what? Not really. We would say innovate maybe technology, or simply just innovate. It's kind of rare for us to say innovate something. We could create something, but usually we just say he needs to innovate. It's more of a general word, okay? So actually, why don't we say that as a 动词 it would be e, innovate. Innovate. Yeah, okay. I sometimes this word innovative gets overused a bit because it's such a popular word. But anyhow, here it says, President William Lai yesterday pledged to turn Taiwan into an artificial intelligence island through a reliable power supply and building some supercomputers, okay? So you know what a supercomputer is, right? It's what? 超级电脑, I guess that would be. So yeah, supercomputer. It's much more powerful than your Apple or whatever it might be you're using at home. Okay, so reliable power supply. I mean, this is a big issue in Taiwan today, but reliable means what? Yes, dependable, in Chinese, I guess we say 可靠, right? It's something you can depend on. So we can say dependable, okay? It is dependable. He is reliable. He is dependable, okay? So it's a good word. Let's say it, reliable. Reliable. Okay, and if something is not reliable, we say it is unreliable. We add a UN at the front, right? Unreliable. Okay, so let's read this together. President William Lai yesterday pledged to turn Taiwan into an artificial intelligence island. Let's say it one more time. Artificial intelligence island. Through a reliable power supply and building supercomputers. Okay. Whoops. So let's go on here. It says, the revolutionary development of AI would absolutely play a key role in the era of digitization. Taiwan is very blessed to have a technology industry in which leaders spent decades working and catapulting Taiwan into the center of the AI revolution, turning Taiwan from nobody to the world's supporting pillars, Lai said in a speech at the opening ceremony of Computex Taipei at the Taipei Nangang Exhibition Center. Okay, I didn't know it was actually at the Nangang. I thought it was over still at the Shimao Zhongxing, but I guess it's at the Nangang Exhibition Center now. So let's look at a few of these words here. Now, we say revolutionary. Of course, you know what revolution means, right? This word? Revolution would be like 革命, right? So revolutionary means if something, we use that as a 形容词, what does that mean? It means it changes everything, right? So something that creates a very large change, or it's leading to a big change, we say it's revolutionary. So when you think about revolutionary technologies or developments, new things in our lifetimes, well, for most of us, I think it would be computers, right? I think many of you, including myself, are old enough to remember when the personal computer, the PC came out, the Apple IIe and all these computers, and that really, or smartphones, that's a revolutionary technology. Okay, so why don't we say together, revolutionary. Revolutionary. Okay, so this is going to absolutely, definitely, absolutely, for sure, play a key role, important role in the era. And you know what era means? Era is what? Age, or, 年代, right? Of digitization. Now, I don't know if we've ever learned this word, but you know what digital means, right? Is 数位, right? So what's digitization mean? Yeah, exactly. So when everything is becoming digital. I'll give you a very simple example is, I grew up when I was younger, when you took pictures, you'll use film, right? 底片, right? But now you use digital cameras. So we can say photography has been digitized, okay? Digitized, and that would be a 动词, T-I-Z-E-D, digitized. Sometimes I know today many people, they have old photographs or old videos on their VHS or their or even film, and they want to digitize their photos. So basically they have to scan them or put them in a machine or something to turn them into digital files so that they can be on their computer and they don't have to go out and print them all the time. So why don't we say let's say this as a verb with an E here, digitize. Digitize. And then this word, digitization. Digitization. Okay. So Taiwan is very blessed. Of course, when we say blessed, it means that we're very, what would be another way of saying that? We're very lucky. Yeah, fortunate. We could say we're very fortunate. We're very lucky. We are very blessed. Okay, if you have blessings, of course, that's usually a good thing. So this would be another word. Lucky, of course, So why don't we say together, fortunate, fortunate, blessed, blessed. Okay, so Taiwan is very blessed to have a technology industry in which leaders spent decades, 几十年, working, and then it says catapulting Taiwan. Okay, now this is a good word I don't believe we've ever learned. Catapulting Taiwan into the center of the AI revolution. So here they're using that word again, 革命, revolution. But so they spent decades working and catapulting Taiwan into. What does this word catapult mean? We don't call it a catapult, that kind of thing. We call it something else, but I'll tell you in a second. Yes, but okay, so let me write the other word. There's another word, the one that you hold in your hand, okay? What is it? It kind of goes like this, and it has a and you actually goes that way, right? You shoot, okay? You put a rock here, and you hold this. You know what I'm talking about. But sorry, I'm a bad artist. But so we don't call that a catapult. It's a kind of catapult, but we call it a slingshot. Okay, slingshot. When I was a kid, I played with these. It's actually, when I think about it, it's amazing. I didn't hurt anybody because you can really shoot a stone very quickly. Yeah, this here needs to be kind of like a rubber elastic, yeah. And then you put a stone or something here and you shoot. But yeah, it's a slingshot. So why don't we say together, slingshot. Slingshot. Actually, if you look at this word here, sling, it's actually another kind of very ancient weapon. It's not this way, but they throw it like this, and then they throw a stone. I don't know if you know the story from the Bible, the Shenjing, the David and Goliath, right? And he used the sling to kill Goliath. So anyhow, slingshot. Catapult is usually a much bigger machine, right? Yeah. And if you watch movies or read books from history, like 1,000 years ago, they had a huge machine, and it would throw rocks and large objects against the enemy. What do you call that in Chinese? Yeah. Sometimes today they still make these sometimes just for fun. People will make one just to see what happens, and you can actually throw large objects very far. Yeah, it's huge. It's like the size of a house. So anyhow, we still use this word catapult. Now, catapult can be a noun like this, or it can be a 动词, to catapult something. And so what does that mean? Here it says catapulting Taiwan into the center of the AI revolution. Well, what does that mean? What do they? Yeah, it means it's kind of like to say to throw Taiwan. Right, but to move it very high, So it's kind of like, I guess, if I was thinking of other 动词, I could say to push or to thrust or to shoot Taiwan into the AI. So it's the idea of taking Taiwan and moving it much higher, throwing it into the air, right? Taiwan is suddenly moving very high in the air. Exactly. So that would be the word. Actually, I didn't think of that, but that would be the word that we use today in the modern senses. The 航空母舰, right? The aircraft carriers. That device that shoots the airplane into the sky is called a catapult. Also, it's the same idea because it's the same kind of idea, right? You take something and you push it into the air. Okay. So anyhow, let's say this together. First, let's say it as a 动词, catapult. Catapult. Catapulting. Okay, so they're catapulting Taiwan into the center of the AI revolution. So this idea of they're pushing or throwing Taiwan into the middle of this AI revolution, turning Taiwan from nobody, right? When you say somebody is a nobody, if somebody says, well, who's that over there? And you say, oh, don't worry about it. He's just a nobody, right? It means that they don't mean anything. They're not important, right? So you say someone is just a nobody, okay? So from nobody to the world's supporting pillars. Okay, now a pillar is what? What is a pillar? A column, yeah. So we have some pillars in this building, I'm sure. Like, well, that's not a pillar, but something that holds up a building. We call it a pillar, or like he said, a column. Pillar. When I think of pillar, though, I think of it. To me, the idea seems just like something really strong. So anyhow, why don't we say together? Pillar, pillar, column, column. Right. So it goes from Taiwan being from kind of like being nothing to being one of the world's supporting pillars, of course, for the global economy, I think, and global technology. Okay. So, and of course, the reason why all these famous business leaders are in Taiwan is this exhibition called Computex. Every year they have this. It's a big, big show. Okay. So let's read this whole paragraph together. The revolutionary development of AI would absolutely play a key role in the era of digitization. One more time, digitization. Taiwan is very blessed to have a technology industry in which leaders spent decades working and catapulting Taiwan. Let's say it again, catapulting Taiwan into the center of the AI revolution. Revolution. Turning Taiwan from nobody to the world's supporting pillars. Pillars. Lai said in a speech at the opening ceremony of Computex Taipei. At the Taipei Nangang Exhibition Center. Okay, so let's go on. It says, Lai said there are 3 fundamental policies that the government would implement to transform Taiwan into an AI island. Okay, so what is, of course, policy, you know what this means. It means what? 政策, right? Okay, or we could say, obviously not all policies are government policies, right? Usually, actually, 政策 should be government policy. We could also have a school policy, right? We could have I guess you could even have a policy for your home, right? What's our policy at home? Okay, but here, of course, we're talking about government policies. Okay, so when we say something is fundamental, what does that mean? Basic, yeah. That's the word I think fits this most easily. If something is basic, and fundamental comes from what word? What's the word? Foundation, yeah. So it's just like there's something here we say foundation, and basic comes from what word? Very similar. Base, yeah. Okay, so a base is like, the base of a building, or like a foundation. It's like the part that kind of is the bottom of it. So it's the most important part. It's the basic part. So we can say it's basic, it's foundational, it's fundamental. So yeah, these words are all very similar. So anyhow, let's say it together. Base, basic, foundation, fundamental. Okay. So yeah, fundamental policies means, these are the most basic but most I guess in a way they'd be the most important. They support everything else. So the fundamental policies that the government would implement. Now, what does implement mean? Put into practice, put into action. What ideas are you going to implement? You know, we all have many ideas, right? But how many of our ideas do we actually implement? Means we actually do something. We put them into action, okay? So why don't we say that word together too? Implement. Implement. Okay, so to implement, to transform, to change. Of course, when we say transform, it usually means to completely change. Not a little bit, but completely change Taiwan into an AI island. Okay, so that's fundamentalism means it's usually when we say fundamentalism, it's a very conservative idea or belief. When we talk about fundamentalism in religion, especially, it's usually a very, very conservative idea or kind of religion. So people talk about fundamentalism in Islam, you know, Muslims, Christianity, Hinduism. Usually it's a very, sometimes people would say right-wing or conservative type of belief in religion. So yeah. But the idea, I guess, is that when it's like in religious fundamentalism, that's what we call it, fundamentalism, we add an ISM. If we add a 加一个 ISM, it becomes a 主义, right? An idea. So fundamentalism, it's like the idea that we take these religious ideas and we go back to the most basic, early version of this religion, and we try to practice what we think is the most basic, fundamental, conservative version of this religion. Yeah, definitely. So in America, you often hear people talking about Christian fundamentalism or Christian fundamentalists, you know. Yeah. So yeah, there definitely is. Well, it depends how you define radical, right? Radical could mean very liberal and very open, right? Fundamentalism, I'd say usually when I think of Christian fundamentalism, I think of really, really conservative, 保守 Christianity. So they would argue against any kind of, they would try to, basically they would say we need to look at the Bible in a very original way. Don't go, you know, creating new ideas about it. Yeah. Some people might, but I think some people, they think the word fundamentalist has a negative idea behind it. So I think a lot of people who actually might be, some people might say, well, he's a Christian or is Islamic or whatever, fundamentalist. They might not describe themselves that way because, again, in many people's minds, it's kind of a negative idea. And you just raised a good point. If someone believes in that, we call them a fundamentalist, L-I-S-T. Okay, we just talked about fundamentalism, just like, you know, communism, right? You know, 共产主义, right? But communist would be someone who follows that idea. So same thing here. Fundamentalism is an idea, and fundamentalist, IST, is the person who follows that idea. Okay? So why don't we say this? Why don't we go through these words again? Fundamental. And then the idea, fundamentalism. Fundamentalism. And then the person who follows that, fundamentalist. Fundamentalist. Okay, so yeah. For some people, again, that has a kind of a negative idea, but it's not, it doesn't have to be negative, but some people think it is. So anyhow, it's, yeah. Okay, so there are three basic or fundamental policies that the government would implement to transform Taiwan into an AI island. Okay, so let's just read this. Lai said there are three fundamental policies that the government would implement to transform Taiwan into an AI island. Okay, so let's go on. That's a photo caption. Okay, so here it says, first, the government would ensure that there is a reliable supply of electricity and provide diverse forms of green energy, Lai said, adding that Taiwan would also build its own data centers. Okay, so ensure, of course, means to make sure, right? To ensure. Make sure that there is a reliable 可靠 supply of electricity and provide diverse. I guess that's what 多元化 or something. It's variety. We could say a variety of, or various, I guess we say VARIOUS, various forms of green energy. Okay, so diverse, various, same idea. Okay, and of course a data center is a place where you store data. I know that Google has at least, I think, 2 data centers in Taiwan, one in Changhua, I think. Yeah, Changbing, yeah. No, it's more like, Google uses huge amounts of data. They store data, right? So they have to have a place where they store that data. Like, I guess you could use a supercomputer, but it's not so much for computing. It's more about storing information. So yeah. Okay, so let's read this. First, the government would ensure that there is a reliable supply of electricity and provide diverse forms of, let's say it again, diverse forms of green energy, Lai said, adding that Taiwan would also build its own data centers. Okay. Then we go on to the next one. It says, second, the government would build supercomputers. We thank NVIDIA Corp or Corporation CEO Jensen Huang for donating a supercomputer to Taiwan. And we also thank Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company for agreeing to pay the cost of operating it, Lai said. Okay, I didn't know he donated a supercomputer to Taiwan. That's a lot of money. Billion? US dollars. Okay. Yeah, those aren't cheap. Okay, so yeah, and I just want to add, of course, this name is very interesting, but we say it NVIDIA, so it's pronounced that way, NVIDIA. Why don't we say it together, NVIDIA? NVIDIA. Okay, so he donated, okay, so I guess their TSMC is paying the cost of operating it, yeah. Okay, so let's read this. Second, the government would build supercomputers. We thank NVIDIA Corporation CEO Jensen Huang for donating a supercomputer to Taiwan. And we also thank Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company let's say that last part, Semiconductor Manufacturing Company for agreeing to pay the cost of operating it, Lai said. Okay. The government would help build supercomputers if necessary, which would not only meet our demands, but also could be used by researchers in industry, government institutions, and academia. This would ensure that AI can continue to develop in Taiwan, he said. Okay, There's one word here, academia. What does this mean? Does anyone know? Well, yeah, but it just means basically education, right? So if you say, oh, he works in academia, it means he is a scholar. He works in education. Seneca, yeah, which is very famous. But yeah, academia is a basic word. Now, if you work in academia, then you are a what? You are a scholar, but there's another word. We use academic with a M-I-C. An academic is someone who works in academia. So you are a scholar. Yeah, kind of, yeah. I guess, technically any teacher, well, especially a full-time teacher, we could say they work in academia. But it's often, when we use the word academia, it almost kind of has a higher level feeling to it, like somebody who works at they're maybe a doctor, a PhD, somebody who's very high up. Yeah, scholar, someone who's got a higher level of education. So anyhow, why don't we say together, academia. Academia. And then as a person, we say academic. Academic. Of course, academic is also a 形容词, right? So we say, what academic subjects do you prefer or do you enjoy? And some might say, well, I enjoy history or I enjoy biology. That is an academic subject, okay, or area of study. So academic can also be a 形容词. So when we say academic institution, we're talking about a school, a university, a college, any place that you go to learn. In a way, I guess a library is also an academic institution, right? People come here to learn. Anyhow, so it's a good word. Greek. You're saying that word is Greek. I think it is, or Latin, I don't know. There's so many words that come from Greek and Latin languages. Yeah, it's an old word. Okay, so let's read this together. The government would help build supercomputers if necessary, which would not only meet our demands, but also could be used by researchers in industry. Industry. Government institutions and academia. This would ensure that AI can continue to develop in Taiwan, he said. Okay, so I think most of you all know this, but it's a very common grammatical or grammar structure here. It says would not only, but also, right? This is something we see a lot. He will not only help me with my homework, but he will also help me with my project, okay? Not only, but also, okay? So we always use that grammar. So, yeah, very common. Okay, so let's go on. That's a photo caption. Okay, so here it says third. We've talked about two things already. So here it says third, the government would continue cultivating talent in information and communications technology, wafer and semiconductor manufacturing, and the AI industries so that the AI island goal can be achieved, he added. Okay, so we've talked about this word before, but what's a simple word for cultivating? But in English, there's another much simpler word for this. If you cultivate something, what do? But even more simple. Raise or grow. Yeah. So, you cultivate plants, right? That's when I think of cultivation, that's what I think of. I think of farming. If you're a 农夫, what do? You cultivate things. You cultivate, rice or animals or, yeah. But actually, when we talk about the word cultivate, it tends to be plants, not animals. we raise, like someone said, we raise an animal or a child or somebody, but we cultivate or grow plants. Yeah, cultivate land. But we cultivate many things. We can cultivate somebody's talent, right? Or skill, right? So, I think it's a hope of all teachers and parents to cultivate their children's interest or skill or talent. It's something that you grow or you develop, okay? So why don't we say together, cultivate. Cultivate. If we describe somebody as being very cultivated, what does that usually mean? It does, but often it actually has the idea of they're very cultured. They're very well behaved. They have good manners. They're 很有礼貌, or they're very classy. They're very high class. So if I think of a very cultivated person, it's somebody who would be very well behaved, and they're very well, they think very well, and they have highly educated. Yeah. So yeah, someone who's very cultivated. That's a word we use. Okay. So they want to continue cultivating, or we could say developing or growing talent in the information and communications technology, wafer and semiconductor manufacturing. Wafer, what is a wafer? What's the original idea of a meaning of a wafer? Do you know? Yeah, it's like a cracker, right? When you eat a kind of bingan, but usually it's very thin and kind of like more like a cracker. It's not, a wafer is not usually a cookie, but it's more like a cracker. It's very thin, cookies, and it's very crunchy usually. I'm trying to think of what wafers. In Taiwan, there's this very popular wafer. It's very thin and it has different layers to it, and it's very light. I remember eating these. Some of them are like, yeah, I think it's Ime that makes them. Yeah. But here, what is this? This is a different thing. I don't even know how you say this in Chinese, but for semiconductors, you make wafers, right? Remember when they make a 半导体, it's like a cracker, right? It's like very thin, and it has many semiconductors on it, and I don't understand it completely, but we call that a wafer because it looks like a wafer. It looks like a cracker. Yeah, I guess it's 晶片. Yeah, 半导体 is semiconductor, and 晶片 would be wafer, I guess. Yeah, or chip. Chip would be another. Yeah, that round thing. Yeah, it's like looks like a record. Okay, so let's say it's together. Wafer. Wafer. And then, of course, let's say that semiconductor. Okay, yeah, very well-known word here. Okay, so let's read this together. Third, the government would continue cultivating talent. Let's say that last two words, cultivating talent in information and communications technology. Wafer and semiconductor manufacturing and the AI industries, so that the AI goal can be achieved, he added. He added. Okay. So then it says here, Lai also urged industry leaders to support the government's initiatives by investing in Taiwan. This would help build an AI industry, which in turn would generate more innovation and applications, he said. Okay, so here it says to generate means to create, right? To produce more innovation. Here's the word innovation used as a 名词, right? And applications. Now, applications, of course, are, you can have technology, but you need to apply the technology, right? Otherwise, it's, useless, kind of. And that's, as I've said many times before, this is where we get the word app from, which is not APP. Everyone's like, what is an APP? I don't know what that means, but it's an app, okay? So yeah, that comes from the word application. Okay, it's like a program, right? Okay, so why don't we say together, applications. Applications. Okay. Okay, so that's, we don't say UFO, no. Yeah, we say UFO, unidentified flying object. It's funny how sometimes these words, people will take the word and they'll just read it as a word. I had not my aunt, but I had a great aunt. And one day, this is many, when I was in university, and she was talking about delivery company. And she said, I said, oh, you use a delivery company, like 快递公司, right? And she said, yeah, we always use UPS. And I was like, what's UPS? And I was thinking about it, and then suddenly I realized it was UPS, right? But she called it UPS. So I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, I've never heard anyone else say that. Yeah. Okay, so let's read this together. Lai also urged industry leaders to support the government's initiatives by investing in Taiwan. This would help build an AI industry. AI industry, which in turn would generate more innovation and applications, he said. Right. So, of course, I think, when we say in turn would do this, what does that mean? Well, it means if you do this, this will also do this, right? So you could say, I'm trying to think of an example. Yeah, it's like the result of something. It's something that follows afterwards, okay? So I helped my parents do something, and in turn, they also helped somebody else do that. I don't know. It means basically you do one thing, and then that leads to something else. So this will build an AI industry, and then if you build an AI industry, in turn, that will create more innovation and more applications. So you do this, and then that leads to this. Okay, everybody understand that? Okay. Okay, so it says here, we hope that more than 1 million small and medium-sized companies around the country would apply AI in running their businesses. This would ensure that the AI island is not only a conceptual goal, but it would, in reality, give an economic boost to the nation and improve people's lives, Lai said. Okay, so they want 1 million or more than 1 million small, medium-sized companies. Sometimes we say small, medium-sized enterprises. It means 中小企业, right? Often when you see the initials SME, that means 中小企业. Now, when they say E, that stands for enterprise, which also is another word for company, right? So small, medium-sized companies would apply. Now, apply means, like, remember we said APP, app, right? Application. Apply comes from that word too. You apply something, you make it happen. So they use or apply AI in running their business, okay? This would make sure that the AI island is not only a conceptual goal. Now, when we say conceptual, if something is conceptual, what does that mean? Yeah, it's a concept, right? And what's another word for concept? Idea, right? If you have a concept, okay, that's great, but it's better if it's something that actually is applied, right? You apply it, you make it work, you do something with it. It's not only a concept. So when we say something is conceptual, it means right now it's just an idea. It hasn't been applied yet. So it's just conceptual. So why don't we say it together? Conceptual. Conceptual. Okay, so they want to make sure this is not only a conceptual goal, but would in reality give an economic boost, an economic support or push to Taiwan and improve people's lives. Okay, so let's read this. We hope that more than 1 million small and medium-sized companies around the country would apply AI in running their businesses. This would ensure that the AI island is not only a conceptual goal, but would in reality give an economic boost to the nation and improve people's lives, Lai said. Okay. Definitely. So it's I think it's no coincidence, it's no coincidence that if you, let's move back to the headlines. Look at this article. U.S. would defend Taiwan, Biden says, okay? I think, now, I want to emphasize something. The U.S. is not going to defend Taiwan only because of technology. That's not the only reason, right? But it is a big reason, right? This is a big deal, right? Because I think not just the United States, but the rest of the world is starting to realize how important Taiwan is to their global economy and everything we do. We talk about economy, okay, that's one thing. But when you start talking about people's daily lives, right? Your smartphone, your car, your computer, your your AI, your everything revolves around technology. And even your refrigerator, your Bingxiang, everything you use uses semiconductors. And the biggest source of semiconductors, especially the high-end semiconductors, is Taiwan. And that's not going to change anytime soon, right? Because it's not like you can just take a TSMC and just quickly move it somewhere else. It just doesn't work. And so I think that it's very interesting. The U.S. has obviously recognized and supported Taiwan's importance for a very long time. But it's funny to see other countries starting to suddenly wake up to this reality, especially the European countries. I just read this morning that Italy is sending a whole, they have, I don't know if you know, Italy has a Hangkong Mujian. They're sending an aircraft carrier group to the Pacific, Taipingyang. Germany and France and all these countries are sending their Navy, Haijun, over to Pacific, to the Intai area. There's a reason for that, right? They want to keep this area stable. They don't want any trouble here. And I think it's in part because of Taiwan. Of course, they're also concerned about Nanhai, right? The Philippines and, all the trade that goes between through the Taiwan Strait, Taiwan Haixia, and also through Nanhai. They want to make sure that this area is stable. And so, I think, it's really, it's funny to see other countries suddenly think, oh, wow, I really need Taiwan. Taiwan's really important to me. We need to make sure this place is okay. So, I think this is a big deal. And I think it was perfect timing that Computex, you have all the top global leaders in technology, famous people, like Intel's, head, and AMD, and, NVIDIA, of course, they're all here in Taiwan at the same time. It's like this gathering, which really kind of emphasizes, people read the news and they're like, oh, everyone's in Taiwan right now because of this reason. So, of course, it helps that NVIDIA and AMD, my friends from America, they're like, oh, I see NVIDIA's CEO was born in Tainan, right? And then I was like, oh yeah, but AMD's CEO was also born in Tainan. What's her name? Sue. Yeah. So it's funny. I don't know what's going on in Tainan. Maybe they have not good water or something. I don't know. It's But it's very interesting to see all the Taiwan connections to all these companies. So anyhow, it's good for Taiwan. I will say that. Actually, I wanted to read one more article related to this. I saw this earlier. Oh, yeah, here we are. Here's Jensen Huang. It's funny because I get the idea, I don't know for sure, I get the idea that his Taiyu is better than his Zhongwen, isn't it? Yeah. When I hear him speaking Taiyu, I was like, wow, he speaks really good Taiyu, right? But I don't know if his Chinese is very good, or it's kind of good, it's okay, but I think his Taiyu is better. So, yeah, definitely. And I love the fact that him and what's the founder of Taiji Dian, Zhang. Yeah, I love the fact that him and Zhang Zhoumo and several other guys went to the Yeshi, right, the night market, and they went to just a normal Taipei restaurant to have dinner, right? And it wasn't like they wanted the baoxiang or the VIP thing. They were just sitting in the corner eating with everybody else. And I sent a picture to my friends in America, and I said, these four guys over here, they control a very large part of the world's technology, just those guys. NVIDIA is supposed to be, they're predicting that this will become the world's second most valuable company above Apple, which Apple's huge, right? So if NVIDIA passes Apple to become the world's second most valuable company, and Taiji Dian is already Asia's most valuable company, right? So, who would have guessed? Because I just had a friend from high school come back to visit Taiwan yesterday from the first time in 35 years. And my friends, of course, we were having dinner, and we were talking about Taiwan, and we said, I still remember when I was a long time ago, I used to think, Taiwan's, electronics are not very good. I always said, no, I only buy Japanese products, only Sony or Panasonic or, Sanyo or what are those companies. But now you look at Taiwan today, their technology is way above Japan. Japan still has good technology, but Japan is kind of following Taiwan in certain ways, like Taiji Dian, they want them to come over and build fabs and things like that. So anyhow, there's a lot that Taiwan has to be proud of. Okay, so it says here, 4 cities competing for NVIDIA Center. Never give up. Taipei City's mayor said Kaohsiung is the tech giant's top choice, but his city still has a fair chance of being selected for projects related to the center. So it's funny, now NVIDIA is the big star. Everybody wants them to come and invest. Okay, so if you say compete, of course, we're not talking about sports. We're talking about they're competing with each other to get this center. Okay, so when we say someone has a fair chance, what does that mean? Yeah, it means that you still have a decent, sometimes we say decent, D-E-C-E-N-T, or we could simply say a good chance, but I think decent, D-E-C-E-N-T, a decent chance. So if someone says, I don't have much hope of something, you say, that's okay. You still have a fair chance of doing that. It means your 可能性 is still okay. It's still, pretty good. Don't give, like it says here, don't give up or never give up. You still have a fair chance or a decent chance of doing something, okay, or getting something, okay? So let's read this, see what's going on. It says 4 city governments are vying for NVIDIA's favor a day after the tech giant's CEO, Jensen Huang, unveiled plans to build its second supercomputer center in Taiwan. Okay, so here's a good word. We talked about at least once before, vie. What does vying mean? Yeah, competing, right? We can use this word for many things. Like, if you want to, we've talked a little bit about romantic relationships. Sometimes 2 people are vying for somebody else's affection or love, right? They're competing for the same person. So we say they're vying. But it doesn't have to be, you could vie, companies can vie, 2 sports teams can vie for a championship or a victory or trophy. So this is like competing. So why don't we say together, vying. Vying. Okay, they're vying for NVIDIA's favor. Now, it's funny when they use the word favor, right? Favor, if you help somebody, you do them a favor. But it's almost like if you're vying for somebody's favor here is more of an idea of somebody's love or affection. Yeah. So you can say, I won their favor. It means now they like me or they love me. So it's not like saying, oh, I'm going to help you with a little bit of a small thing, to. Yeah. So 青睐. Yeah. So it's the idea of, oh, I like you, so I'm gonna give you my love. Okay. So they're vying for NVIDIA's favor a day after the tech giant's CEO said unveiled. Now, of course, unveiled, we've talked about this before. Veil means to cover, right? Or a covering. So if you unveil, it means you open up, you show everybody, you reveal. I guess the best word would be reveal. To reveal, to show. Okay? So why don't we say it together? Unveiled. Unveiled. Reveal. Reveal. So they revealed or unveiled their plans to build a second supercomputer center in Taiwan. Okay, so let's read this together. 4 city governments are vying for NVIDIA's favor a day after the tech giant's CEO, Jensen Huang, unveiled plans to build its second supercomputer center. Let's say it again, supercomputer center in Taiwan. It says Taipei, New Taipei City, Tainan, and Kaohsiung are the locations being considered, he told a news conference. Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing companies' chip-making capabilities outweighed any concerns over geopolitical stability. Okay, so chip, we talked about 晶片, right? A chip making. So you notice it's one word here. It becomes a 形容词. Chip making capabilities. Okay, we talked about this before. It's a little bit like the word ability, right? Your kind of like your ability to do something. So you can say this company has many capabilities, okay? Or abilities. Abilities tend to be things that we talk about more personal, like a person has many abilities, although we could say a person has capabilities. But when we talk about a company, we don't usually use the word ability. We use the word capability, or we talk about a country or something, a much bigger thing. We use capability and not ability. Okay, so the TSMC's chip-making capabilities outweighed any concerns over geopolitical stability. Okay, first of all, what does the word geopolitical mean? Yeah, it's basically there's many things that are geopolitical, right? We talk about relationships between different countries like US and China and the whole world and how countries work together and where they're located. That's all geopolitical, right? Well, yeah, and China and Taiwan, the South China Sea, all those things. So obviously, usually countries prefer geopolitical stability. They want 稳定, right? So it's stable. So of course, there have been concerns about Taiwan and China and geopolitical stability, okay? Or rather instability. So basically what he's saying is the capability of Taiji Dian, that is more important than any concern over this geopolitical stability. So when we say it's more important than, we say it outweighed. Now, you notice weigh, if you weigh something, right, you see how heavy it is. So if something outweighs something else, it means it's heavier than, right? Now here we're not talking about weighing something. It's almost like a balance, right? When you balance these two concerns, like let's say here's the concern and then here's another concern, and they're very different, right? One concern is, well, he wants to make technology and 半导体 and all that. And then here's the other concern is geopolitical stability. Which one is heavier? Which one's more important? Well, he thinks Taiji Dian is more important. So that outweighs any concerns over geopolitical stability. Does everybody understand that? Okay. So let's read this word. Let's say this together. Outweigh. Outweighed. Right. So if someone says, aren't you worried about, it's going to rain? Don't you want to stay home? And you say, well, my job outweighs my concern over rain. Okay. I still need to go because my job is more important. Okay. So yeah, it's a good word. Let's say that other word too. Geopolitical. Geopolitical stability. Stability. Right. And that comes from the word stable. 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 Okay. Okay, so let's read this. Taipei, New Taipei City, Tainan and Kaohsiung are the locations being considered. He told a news conference. Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing companies chip making capabilities outweighed any concerns over geopolitical stability, Huang said. Okay, and that's a photo caption. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a vote of confidence in Taiwan, because if he's willing to invest all this money in Taiwan, and many other, not only him, of course, many other companies, it's kind of, when I say a vote of, actually, let me type that up. It's good. It's a good word, good expression. We say a vote of if someone does something that shows they trust, they are confident in you, we say it's a vote of confidence. Now, of course, vote here is not really to go out and 投票, but it means that I'm demonstrating my confidence in something. So it's, when companies say, well, we need to invest more in Taiwan, we need to put more money in Taiwan, of course, they always have to look at the risk, right? 风险, right? They analyze the risk. And so if someone like him or anybody says, oh, I'm going to put more money, I'm going to invest more in time, I'm going to build a center here, I'm going to do this, it's a vote of confidence in Taiwan. It's saying, I'm confident that Taiwan is a good place to do business. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, actually, we just simply say it's a loss of confidence, right? Yeah. It's a loss of confidence in China. Okay, so there's a very funny expression. I think I've shared this with you before. We say basically Jensen Huang, he could talk about Taiwan and say Taiwan is great, but he is, oops. Okay. Have you heard that expression before? Put your money where your mouth is. Have you ever heard this? This is a very good American expression. You say he is putting his money where his mouth is. Okay. What does that mean? It means if you're talking, you need to show me that you're really going to do what you say. Okay. So if I say Taiwan's a great place, I think Taiwan is a wonderful place to do business, and then someone says, well, will you invest money here? You're like, no, I'm not going to invest money there. Then I'm not putting my money where my mouth is. But if Jensen Huang says Taiwan is a great place, I have all this confidence, Taiwan's the center of AI, then I'm going to put lots of money investment. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Okay. So basically, now this doesn't only have to be about money. This can be about anything. Anything where instead of just talking, you actually do something. So, if someone says, oh, this is great, and someone says, there's another expression, someone says, talk is cheap. Have you heard that expression? Talk is cheap. Let me just. Or no, we say, I'm running out of room here. Here, I'll try to, let me just write it here. Yes. Okay, sorry, I hope some of you can see this. Actions speak louder than words. It means I can talk, but what are you going to do about it, right? Actions speak louder. So it really makes a difference when someone does something, not just talks about it. So, if someone says, oh, this is wonderful, this is great, I have lots of confidence, and someone says, well, actions speak louder than words. It means, what are you going to do about it? Or if someone doesn't, actually, if you say this, sometimes it means you don't trust them. Talk is cheap. So we could actually combine these two. We could say talk is cheap, actions speak louder than words. We could actually combine those two. So if what? Yeah, words are only honored by deeds. Yeah, it's the same idea. You can talk, but doesn't mean anything until you do something. So we could say talk is cheap, actions speak louder than words. Or put your money where your mouth is. There's another expression. It says, yeah, I'm sure there's probably even more expressions in English that we can use to get this idea across. But anyhow, let's say this together. Talk is cheap. Actions speak louder than words. Okay. Put your money where your mouth is. Okay. Yeah, these are good ones. So anyhow, it's when Jensen Huang says, oh, Taiwan's great, Taiwan's wonderful, but then he also invests lots of money here. That is definitely a vote of confidence, right? And someone just mentioned earlier, I think this is exactly why so many companies are leaving China, because there's a loss of confidence, right? I find it very ironic that I don't know. It seems kind of funny, but it's not funny, but it's kind of ironic that whenever China threatens Taiwan, who are they hurting? They're actually hurting themselves, right? Because if there was ever a war or China attacked Taiwan or something like that, who would get hurt as badly as Taiwan? China would, right? Think about where all China's main ports and cities are. They're very close to Taiwan. Shanghai, Ningbo, Xiamen, Guangzhou, all of that stuff would be influenced by a war. They would all be cut off or damaged or hurt. So it's funny how when they keep threatening Taiwan and they keep saying things that they're being aggressive towards Taiwan or the Philippines, it leads to a loss of confidence, because companies say, well, I don't want to invest in China because I don't know what they're going to do tomorrow. I don't trust them. Not just because of Taiwan, there's other problems too internally, but they lose their confidence. And so investors are leaving. I mean, not even Taiwanese companies are leaving, but other companies are leaving. So you can't act like this and think that people are just going to keep investing in your economy, globally. It just doesn't work. So anyhow, I wish they would kind of wake up and understand that, but maybe they don't. I think here's the thing. I always try to emphasize this to my foreign friends. They don't understand something. That is, for the CCP, 共产党, I think only one thing matters, and that's power. Stay in power. Nothing else matters. Your economy doesn't matter. Diplomacy doesn't matter. Your relationships with the rest of the world doesn't matter. How well your people are doing doesn't matter. Nothing matters except power. Stay in power. That's all that matters. That's the number one concern. And many of my friends, they don't understand that, because normal countries don't operate that way, or at least I should say democratic countries. Normal countries say, well, my economy should be good. I need to have good relations with other countries. But no, I think they have a different different way of thinking about that. So anyhow, that's my little speech to you today. Okay. So yeah. So anyhow, we have some good expressions there. So here it says, let's go on. It says, TSMC is not merely good, it is incredible, he said, adding that the two corporations have been collaborating for 25 years and achieved the synergy necessary to develop the most sophisticated technologies. Okay, so he's saying it's not merely, what's this word merely mean? Yeah, only, right? If you say he merely gave me 10 NT, it means like he only gave me 10 NT. It wasn't much. So merely means only or just. It's not just good. It's not only good. It's incredible. Okay, it's amazing. Okay. He added that the two corporations, the two companies have been collaborating. I think you know this word. What does this mean? Cooperating. It's another good word. It's very similar to cooperate. So why don't we say it? Collaborating. Collaborating. Right. So if you collaborate with someone, it means you're working with them. Okay. They've been collaborating for 25 years and achieved the synergy necessary to develop. This is a word, it's a very good word. We use it in technology a lot. I don't think we've learned it yet, but what does synergy mean? Yeah, it's the idea where think about it. It's kind of like the word energy and synchronize, which means synchronize means to move together. So synergy is this idea that you create, you take two sides come together and they work together to create a new energy, a new creativity. It's like the idea that we take the best of two things and we make something even better, right? So actually, I mean, you can kind of think of it. There's a word to synchronize. This is a long word. And of course, we have energy. They kind of like you put these two words. To be honest, I don't know if this word actually was the combination of these words, but it might. I think it could be. So, what does this word synchronize mean? Yeah, it means to bring the timing together. Okay, when you think of the word CRONO, chron or chrono refers to time. So, some of you wear watches and it says chronometer or chronology. It means the science of time. Chronometer. That's another word we see sometimes on Swiss, fancy Swiss, 瑞士的手表. They call it a chronometer. Very expensive watches. So these are not like your normal everyday, Casio watches. These are like the Swiss watches, like Rolex. Actually, if you buy a Rolex, it'll say chronometer on it. Okay, so it means it's a very expensive, specialized device. But it's like chrono means time, right? And meter means to meter, to measure, right? So to measure time means a chronometer, which is a watch, right? So chronometer, this word, whenever you see the word chrono, it refers to time. So synchronize means to make the times they run together. So I'll give you an idea. Let's say you see this sometimes in a war movie. That they're on a mission, right? And we have to synchronize our watches, right? We have to make sure your watch is exactly the same as my watch, so that when we take action, we're going to do it at the same time. So we have to synchronize our watches, right? But when else do we synchronize our time? Yes. Okay, that's a great example. In the 奥运, like we're having the Olympics in Paris soon, right? They have this sport called synchronized swimming, right? And it's where usually, I think it's always women for some reason. They're in the swimming pool and they do all the actions at the same time, right? At the exact same time. Or we can say synchronized dancing, right? So when they're dancing, they're all dancing at the exact same time, at the same motion. So their actions are all, I guess another way would be just simply to coordinate, right? You could say to coordinate your time or your action. But synchronize has the idea of you're doing it at the exact same time, okay? I always synchronize my watch to my smartphone, right? Because I think, well, my phone probably has the right time. So sometimes my watch is slow or my fast, and I will synchronize my watch to my phone to make sure it's the same time. So everybody understands that, right? So when you synchronize, it's kind of like you synchronize and you have energy, right? So synergy is this idea that you're combining something. It's always the idea you're bringing two things together to create something, some new energy or a new creativity. I hope you understand. Does that make sense? Okay. But synergy is a word we use a lot in business and technology. I always hear this word. Okay. So anyhow, let's read this. Let's say this together. Synchronize. Synchronize. Chronometer. Chronometer. And then this word, synergy. Synergy. Right. So if you're ever having a discussion with another, especially a company, and you're like, why should we cooperate? And you're just like, hey, if we cooperate, we can create lots of new synergy, or we can create synergy. Okay. So NVIDIA and TSMC have achieved the synergy necessary to develop the most sophisticated technologies. They work together and they've been able to develop these really sophisticated technologies. Okay. Let's read this then. TSMC is not merely good. It is incredible, he said. One more time. It is incredible, he said. Adding that the two corporations have been collaborating for 25 years and achieved the synergy necessary to develop the most sophisticated technologies. Let's say those two words again. Sophisticated technologies. Okay. Taipei Mayor Jiang Wan'an said on the sidelines of a meeting with borough wardens yesterday that NVIDIA should give serious thought to basing the center in Taipei's Beitou Shilin, that's Shilin, right? Shilin Technology Park. Okay. So he said we talked about this before, on the sidelines of a meeting, we said, if you have a conference, a kai hui or a meeting or some special event, and you're talking on the side, it means you're not in the meeting, but you're outside the meeting, but nearby, right? This comes from 运动比赛, right? Because on a sports, like I play 足球, right? There's a sideline. It's a line, 线, that goes on the side of the field, right? And if you're standing on the sideline, you're not in the game, you're watching the game, right? And then maybe the 教练 says, okay, you can go in. So you go into the game. But if you're on the sidelines, you're watching, but you're not playing the game. You're just watching the game, okay? Or waiting to go into the game. So he's on the sidelines means he's there, but he's not in the meeting. He's on the outside. So why don't we say together, sidelines. Okay, so this was a meeting with borough wardens. Now, this is a very funny, borough wardens, I think in Chinese is Li Zhang. Or I think it's Li Zhang. Because borough, if we say chu is district, and borough is smaller. And so I think it's the way they use for Li Zhang. Okay, now borough is a very funny word because in America we use borough for a lot of small, like kind of like we say li, right? A li. It gets used for a lot of small towns. We say a borough, especially like where my father's in Bingzhou. I see this word all the time. So we call it a borough, and a warden. This word warden can get used for many things. We can use it for fire departments. We can use it for government. We can use it for anything. But anyhow, I've noticed that over the years in Taiwan, everyone has had this big, 问号 and say, how do we translate the word Li Zhang? What English word do we use? And so I noticed that finally they started to use this word borough warden. Okay, so why don't we say together, borough wardens, borough wardens. Okay, so we had a meeting with Li Zhang yesterday, And he said that NVIDIA should give serious thought to. Okay, so if you say give serious thought to, there's another way of saying that. Often we say to give serious consideration to. It means you should really think about this, right? If someone says, well, here's my plan, I plan to do this, and you think, really? You should give some serious thought to changing your plan or doing something else or So serious thought to or serious consideration of. Sorry. Sorry. Consideration, CONSIDERATION. Sorry, you can't see it. Consideration of. Okay, means you should consider this, right? Okay, so why don't we say this together? Serious thought to. Serious thought to. Serious consideration of. Okay. So you said they should give serious consideration. I guess we could say serious consideration to as well. It doesn't have to be of. Serious consideration to, serious consideration of something. Yeah, serious thought to basing the center in Taipei's this technology park. Okay, anyhow, let's read this. Taipei Mayor Jiang Wan-an said on the sidelines of a meeting with borough wardens yesterday that NVIDIA should give serious thought to basing the center in Taipei's Beitou Shilin Technology Park. Okay. It says here, the city is the leading technology hub in Taiwan and features 13,859 tech company headquarters, including 16 of NVIDIA's largest suppliers, the nation's first artificial intelligence research center in Nehu District, air and sea logistics nodes, and top academic institutions, he said. Okay. Wow. So he has his numbers. Exactly 13,859 tech company headquarters. Okay. Let's see here. There's one word here that actually jumps out at me. It says air and sea logistics nodes. Does anyone know what a node is? N-O-D-E-S? Yeah. Did someone say it? Center. Yeah. It's another way of saying center. So if you have a node of operations or a node of I don't know, intelligence node or technology node, it means center, or I guess we could also simply use the word hub, right? Hub, center, node, okay? N-O-D-E, a node. So yeah, it's not it's a word we use sometimes. Probably we use the word center more commonly, but yeah, node it's a good word. So why don't we say together node, node, hub. Okay, so he's basically, Mayor Jiang is making all these arguments about why NVIDIA should come to Taipei instead. Okay, let's read this then. The city is the leading technology hub in Taiwan and features 13,859 let's say it one more time. 13,859 tech company headquarters, including 16 of NVIDIA's largest suppliers. The nation's first artificial intelligence research center in Nehu District. Air and sea logistics nodes. Logistics nodes. And top academic institutions, he said. Okay, I forgot one word here. I think you know, maybe many of you know, what is logistics? Yeah, it's basically moving things around. You know, when I think of logistics companies that are famous, I think of UPS or FedEx, right? Or DHL, right? These are companies, they transport things back and forth. Logistics, actually that word originally comes from the military. 军事, it's a military word. You know, like, for example, if you read history about World War II, right? 二次大战, the U.S. had to move all kinds of material supplies, you know, around the world. And from that effort came companies like, you know, FedEx and, you know, UPS, this idea of how to move lots of material anywhere in the world. I know the U.S. is kind of an expert at that. I still remember there used to be a very famous air logistics company that I used to always see flying into Taiwan. I kind of missed them because I always thought their name was very cool. You remember, some of you remember there used to be a company called Flying Tigers? Yeah. The name came from World War II. You know, the U.S. and China, yeah, Chenault, right. And after the war, they created a company called Flying Tigers. They used the same nickname, and they used to fly lots of airplanes into Taipei. And then FedEx bought Flying Tigers, so they got rid of the name and everything became FedEx. But yeah, I used to think those airplanes looked very cool. It said Flying Tigers. Okay, so let's just read maybe. Okay, this paragraph's kind of boring, but let's keep going. It says here, New Taipei City Mayor Hou Youyi told city councilors during a meeting that the city's economic development department has begun discussions with the tech giant about building its center there. Okay, so I think this is pretty straightforward. Let's read it anyhow. New Taipei City Mayor Hou Youyi told city councilors during a meeting that the city's economic development department has begun discussions with the tech giant about building its center there. Okay, it's funny, I don't know, you know, in Taichung they call it a bureau, not a department. It's the Jingfaju, right? I don't know if this is actually the name they use in Taipei or Xinbei, but yeah, department. Now, of course, when we say tech giant, we're talking about NVIDIA, right? It's a tech giant. It's a technology giant, just like Google or AMD or, you know, TSMC. Okay. Okay, it says New Taipei City is home to 15 of the 43 companies in NVIDIA's supply chain, and the Urban Development Center zone is a promising opportunity for the proposed computer center, he said. Okay, so let's read this. New Taipei City is home to 15 of the 43 companies in NVIDIA's supply chain and the Dagan Urban Development Project Zone. Let's say it again. Urban Development Project Zone is a promising opportunity for the proposed computer center, he said. When we say something is a promising opportunity, what does that mean? Right. It has great what? We say, what's the word? Starts with a P. It has great potential, right? If something is promising, we say, wow, that's a very promising idea, or that has great potential, right? This really could be something. So when we think of an idea that's promising, or a plan that's promising, or a promising opportunity, it means it could really become something great, or it has potential. It has lots of potential. Okay, so why don't we say together, promising opportunity. Right, okay. And this is an urban development, so it'd be like a Dufa project zone, yeah. So anyhow, but it says here that, okay, so last paragraph, we'll read this and then we're done. Citing NVIDIA officials, Ho said that Kaohsiung is the top pick at the moment due to backing from the central government, but added that New Taipei City still has a fair chance of being selected for projects related to the center. So here's that expression again. It still has a fair chance. There's still possibility of being selected. Okay, so let's read this. Citing NVIDIA officials, Ho said that Kaohsiung is the top pick at the moment due to backing from the central government, but added that New Taipei City still has a fair chance of being selected for projects related to the center. Okay. I just have one question about all this. Where's Taichung? Isn't he going to come to Taichung? So anyhow, yeah, no, I think the government would like to see more development in southern Taiwan. And he's from Tainan, right? So maybe he'll go to Tainan, help his hometown. So yeah. Okay, good. Any final questions? Okay, well, anyhow, have a good week, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
现场还留着的朋友，如果我还没有急着走的话，可以帮我们，因为6月我又要写报告，所以我需要各位的意见。